turn us over to Vivian. Thank you for being here, Vivian. And can you tell us about our place in the galaxy?
Hey Renee, it's so nice to see you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so one of the many things that this project contains are these hands-on educational activities. And a lot of these have been designed with amateur astronomers and museum educators in mind. So informal educators, and I want to share my screen and show you a little bit about what we're doing. Let's see. Oops, hold on. Wrong share. Here we go. And nope, I did it again. How about present? All right, the one that we're going to talk about today is visualize our galaxy. I'll show you where to find all of them, but you can get to the whole toolkit, the Big Astronomy toolkit at bit.ly/bigastro, or from the main bigastronomy.org website. So as amateur astronomers, we often have people ask us about the Milky Way, about where we are in the universe. There are so many questions that we get, especially when we're out under the night sky and in a really dark space. So if I'm not, which I'm not today, under a dark sky, I love to start with asking people, have they ever been out under a really, really dark sky, and to think about what that feeling was so they can kind of get in touch with how, for me, just like magical it is to be under a dark sky. So I don't think I can see the chat, sadly, but if anybody's been under a dark sky, you might tell the person next to you what that felt like.
Vivian, I was privileged to be under a dark sky with you when we went to Chile together back the first time I remember back in 2015. And we went to this observatory called Cerro Mayu. And it was the first time we saw really, really dark skies in Chile together. And I remember feeling like the stars were just like here, just like right above my head.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it makes me feel really small. I think of all the worlds out there, and this activity kind of brings those to the forefront. So, the activity itself, I'll just tell you a little bit of background. It's got 2 pages that are here in the middle. Start with visualize our galaxy, and those are presenter pages to present to the public, so you can show those if you're sitting at a table or something. Those are kind of questions that engage the public. And then there's also 2 pages of notes for presenters with materials and more resources. And the toolkit that we put out comes with this umbrella that I'm going to just show you right there, and I'll pull it out in just a minute and demonstrate it without slides up. But it's a model of the Milky Way galaxy, and it can be used in a number of ways. So we have a lot of different suggestions on questions that you can answer with it. But maybe if anyone in the chat has questions that they often get at presentations about the galaxy, you can put those in too, and we'll see if we can come up maybe together with how to answer some of those questions. We asked a lot of amateur astronomers, a lot of museum professionals, what questions they heard the most from their audience. One of them is, what is that big cloud in the sky? Now, this is if you're under a really dark sky. You can see this swath of, I mean, appropriately named the Milky Way. It looks kind of hazy and fuzzy, and a lot of people don't get to see that. Most of the population around the world now lives in cities that are too bright to see the Milky Way on any given night. So going out to a dark sky site and getting to see this is really phenomenal. And I just put a picture of that up here because often you might have a night where you can see if you're out under dark skies. Yeah. So is there a question? Just feel free to stop me and interrupt me because I'll just keep talking. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Jim Schweitzer says in West Texas is so beautiful and such nice dark skies. Absolutely. And being in a planetarium, right? In a planetarium, you can actually see this. And that's a huge benefit for those of us who live in big cities. So talking about using this model to talk about what you see, and I'll do that in one second when I show you the model itself. So We can do this on the umbrella that we have. We can also just post an image of this visualization of the Milky Way galaxy. And we have, so let me think. There are a million ways that you can take this. So this is not a picture of the Milky Way galaxy. I want to be clear. Unfortunately, because we live within the Milky Way galaxy, we can't take a picture. This is a visualization by Dr. Hurt at JPL, who this has taken all of the best information that we have about our galaxy, the Milky Way that we live in, and has put it together in a way that, you know, kind of helps us visualize what we might be living within. But the difference between that and what we see in the night sky is kind of difficult to assimilate for a lot of people. So I'm going to stop share and pull out my umbrella. So these umbrellas come like this. Got 7 years of bad luck or something, I'm sure. But this is a model that we use in order to talk about our place in our galaxy. And this is the same image that we had up just a moment ago on the screen. And except for this is an earlier version. Look, it even says text to be determined. I realized I gave away all of mine that were final versions. So I am stuck with my test version, but I'll show you what's on there in just a second. So within that, we can talk about, we know a lot about our own galaxy because of galaxies that we see through our telescopes in other parts of the universe. So often you'll see galaxies that don't look face on like this, but look kind of sideways like this. And if you can imagine us in this galaxy, we are so tiny. We're smaller than a hair. Let's see if we have, I don't even have where we are on this, but the final one does. And I think we're somewhere in here on the Orion arm. And so we are so small, even our entire solar system, we wouldn't be able to see at this scale. If you could, all the way out to even past Pluto would be too tiny to see. And in this scale model, we can't, it kind of demonstrates why we see that swath across the sky. So really what we're seeing is edge on. We are living in this galaxy and we only get to see the line of the Milky Way that appears in the night sky because we are within it. So we look on the final version, it shows how far on this scale that we can see with our own eyes in the night sky. So all of the stars that we can see the farthest away, kind of, they're all within about 2 inches of where we are in the galaxy. So we don't actually see with our own eyes much of the rest of the galaxy. We only see a little tiny corner that we're living in. But it takes huge telescopes like the telescopes down in Chile and telescopes that see in many wavelengths like infrared to see through this dust here and see what is beyond what we can see with just our eyes. Okay, so let me go back to this. If you have any questions, feel free to holler. I use this to answer
If you
so many
have
different
questions,
questions.
please just
Yeah.
put them in the chat. And if you're watching us on Facebook, just leave us a comment on Facebook. And we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Let's see if I can get back to where I was. Right. I think you all can see that. Is that true? Can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay, great.
It's dark right now, Viv.
Yeah, it is for me too. Good. Okay. Good to know. Let's see. Where are you? How
There we
about that?
go. There's the nice.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so one of the things, this is our, on the final version that didn't have text here in many different sizes, it says something like this. So it talks about the visualization of the structure of our galaxy and what it looks like in visible light that we could see with our eyes. And the different colors have different representations. So you can see young stars in blue. The bulge in the middle is the yellow stars that are much older stars in general, and red indicates where there are stars being born, which is very exciting. So it gives some different approximations of a scale model. All models have limitations, right? So we have models of cars. Unfortunately, most of them don't drive, or even if they do, they can't fit little tiny people in them. There are lots of limitations when it comes to models. So this model has its limitations, of course. It's not exactly to scale. If we had a Milky Way about the size the 3 feet or a meter wide, the thickness would actually be about a centimeter. So it's not far off. It's actually quite thin. I think of it kind of like Well, I guess records are coming back around, but it's kind of the shape of an old record, not a 45, the big ones. um, it is a very thin disc that we're looking out into, and that's why when we're in that thin disc, we only see that line in the sky. So let's see. Yeah, okay, I think those are most of what I wanted to share with you, but there's lots of other ways. I'm going to see if I can stop sharing and answer any questions. I can show you maybe. Uh,
Vivian, you asked us to remind you about the galactic address activity.
oh, I love that one. Okay, so because we understand that actually we are not all getting to meet in person right now. I haven't seen anyone in weeks personally. And I'm so glad you're here. So glad to see your faces. Because we are not meeting in person as much, we've adapted some of these activities in order to make them more useful for online instruction. A lot of the amateur astronomy clubs who we work with are doing amazing online activities, and you can actually find a lot of those if you go to the Night Sky Network website. You can find lots of upcoming activities by those clubs, but the galactic address is a really fun one, and I'm just checking to make sure. So we have lots of different extension activities that you can use with this included in the manual, in the write-up. The galactic address is great. You start with, especially for kids who are learning maps, 4th or 5th grade, it's a really fun time where kids start to get an understanding of what a bird's eye view looks like, right? So you start by having them draw a map of their room or wherever, their kitchen, wherever they happen to be doing school, and go out from there. Have them draw, okay, where in their house is their room? And then they draw that. Where in their neighborhood is their house? And we get bigger and bigger and bigger. And underneath each of the pictures, you can say the living room and describe what it is. So the living room at my house at this address, in this neighborhood, or in this city, in this state, in this country, on this planet. And we get bigger and bigger and bigger until we talk about being in the galactic arm. And I will stick the link to that address, to that activity in the chat in just a minute. Yeah, it's a fun activity to do. It kind of puts uh, where your place in the galaxy in perspective. So
Yeah, I have friends because I have a lot of nerdy space friends. I have friends who, whenever they list their address, they make sure to list that they're in, you know, the solar system and in the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, and very specific addresses.
yes,
Um, we have
yeah,
a question from Jim. He loves the umbrella. It's a brilliant idea, and can he get one? And could he paint on it with glow in the dark paint?
great idea. In the toolkits, we actually include glow in the dark markers because they're so fun. And if you make, you're welcome, I think on the, I will put it in the chat, but it's a bit.ly. So you just go to bit.ly and then you do a / galaxy umbrella. That'll get you there. You can purchase one. And if you put a note in the, when you're purchasing one, go ahead and say, hey, would you add in, I have a few extra of uh, the glow in the dark markers I'd be happy to throw in. So they have all of the information on it. Yes, so glow in the dark at night in particular has been really, really effective. So we color on there with glow in the dark, which is pretty transparent when it's not dark out. And then we often highlight it with a UV light before we get started, because then you can really see the sides of it. Maybe I can show again a lot of what we know about our own galaxy. I think I mentioned before, comes from what we have learned looking at other galaxies. And for example, these galaxies here, you can see edge on. That one on the left didn't come out as well, but you can see what it looks like edge on and see all of that gas and dust. And that's really not that far off of what our own galaxy looks like when we look out on a clear night sky.
And Vivian, this activity is just one activity of this toolkit of related activities that you created, or you led the team in creating at the Astronomical Society of the Pacific. And we sent a lot of these to planetariums that we know that are showing the show or will show the show. We also sent them to amateur astronomy clubs. And what if somebody is a member of those groups? Are they still available? Are there still some that could be requested?
We do. I have not been into the office lately, but there are a few left over. So I think there are some. If you'd like to request it, you go to bigastronomy.org. At the very bottom of the page, I believe on the front page, there's a link to request a toolkit, and it will send them out until we have no more. So please do. We'd love to get these into your hands. This has many different activities in it, including some great dark sky activities, activities about multi-wavelength viewing, lots that have to do with clues to the cosmos, coloring the cosmos and things like that. And again, these all have virtual components that you can do even if you're not in person.
And I've just put a link in the chat on both Facebook and on Zoom on the link to the bigastronomy.org website, where you can find, even if you're not getting the full toolkit, you can find the write-ups of the activities and the manual for the activities. So if you just want to adapt pieces of them, or if you're not in the United States, because unfortunately the shipping for this was limited to the United States. So if you're not in the United States, there's a place where you can you can adapt the activities and find all the information on ASB's website and on Big Astronomy's website.
Yeah, and I should say that you can print out this galaxy image on just a piece of paper or a piece of vinyl and use that over and over again in your outreach. It's a really lovely way to do that. And the PDF for that is online as well. So you can find all of the pieces there.
Amy says that she just did a version of the galactic address with a school group yesterday. I read My Place in Space by Robin and Sally Hurst, which is out of print now. And then we write our address on a piece of paper like a postcard. So that sounds lovely, Amy.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that's out of print. I remember that one.
Well, if you have any questions for Vivian, and John wants to know, is that where we find the galactic address? So where do people find that galactic address activity, Vivian?
You know what, let me go ahead and grab that. You go on and do what you do, and I will put the link in there in 1 second.
Okay, so folks who are watching on Facebook and those of you who are here with us in Zoom, let us know what questions you might have about this or maybe any of the other Astronomical Society of the Pacific activities, or have you used any of these activities with your groups, either virtually or in person? And if so, how did they turn out for you? And I'd like to, while Vivian's finding that link as well, I'll mention that we do these social media events roughly every 2 weeks or so. There's not a set schedule of them, but we have the next one's coming up on February 15th. It's featuring Alex Giraldo, who is the head of the cafeterias at both Gemini South and CTIO. And I'm excited about this event, Real People, Big Astronomy. The whole goal of this series is to help people understand how many different people it takes to make astronomy happen and to make science happen. And Alex has a job that is not involved with observing directly, but of course, without his job, nothing would happen. If you don't feed the people who work at the observatories, there would be no science done at the observatories. So that's coming up on February 15th. And then we have another event in February as well, featuring Peter Moore of CTIO. And we'll be posting those on our Facebook page and sending them out in our newsletter email, so you can sign up for that on bigastronomy.org as well.
Renee, do you remember being in the cafeterias up at CTIO?
I loved CTIO because it has these super world-class observatories, super high-tech, telescopes and astronomy infrastructure all around us. And then you go into the rooms that we were lucky enough to get to spend the night in the dormitories there. You go into the rooms and you go into the cafeteria, and it's like you step back in time to the 1960s. But the food is delicious. Very good.
And it's not as simple as you might think, because people have all sorts of crazy observing schedules. They're having breakfast at midnight. They're
Right.
and Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory is CTIO.
That's
For the
right. Yeah, yeah. And magical place with a very good view of the sunset. I remember us watching the sunset from there. Vivi and I were very lucky to have been accepted into the Astronomy and Chile Educator Ambassador Program back in 2015, and we were part of the group that helped that from that group, the idea for Big Astronomy emerged. So I feel lucky to have had time in Chile with some fantastic people. Okay, so Jim has said that he thinks it's great, loves the work that we're doing. I find the power of 10,000 to be helpful for scale. These are approximate, but I've found the help in putting some scale on the far astronomical address. So Neptune's orbital diameter to the distance of the moon is 4 to the power of 10. Distance to Ceres slash Neptune's orbit diameter.
It's
10 to
10,000
the power. Yeah.
times the distance of Neptune's orbit. That's very useful. Huh. 10,000 is still a big number. I'm trying to think
That's
of what I
right.
know that I have can access 10,000. But that's really cool. So then the size of the galaxy is 10,000 times the distance to Sirius, and the size of Laniakea, and that's the big structure that we're within. Is that
Right.
right? Is this 10,000 times the size of our galaxy? That is pretty cool. I like that.
And on Facebook, Derek says the umbrella is very nice. I can see the two major and minor arms of the galaxy in it and will label them with the glow marker.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any questions, any further questions coming in from our guests either here in Zoom or on Facebook. So I would like to, so I've already reminded you of the upcoming events and how you can stay connected by liking us on Facebook or Instagram or signing up for our newsletter. And now I'd like to ask Dr. Shannon Small to pop in and talk a little bit about the educational research that's being done on this grant.
Hey everyone, thanks for bringing me in. I also was with Renee and Vivian on that trip in 2015, and what I remember about the CTIO dorms was the little shampoo bottles that had the logo on it, and it was just like a hotel, and I still have that bottle because I thought it was so cute. But I am the research lead on the project for Big Astronomy, and we are conducting educational research around the planetarium show and the various resources, including these live events. And so it would help us out a whole lot if you would fill out a survey that we have.
You just muted yourself accidentally. Try after survey we have.
We have a survey. I'm popping that into the chat right now. When trying to do that, I muted myself. I'm also putting it on the comments on Facebook. Even if you have filled out this survey before, we would love to hear from you again to hear what you've been up to since the last time you took it. By filling out the survey, you can be entered in to a drawing for a $10 Amazon gift card. And there'll also be opportunities to help us out further by signing up to do interviews with us that'll be a little bit more in depth. And all of that helps us understand how we can continue to make projects like this and planetarium shows be more engaging and offer more opportunities for learning. So thank you so much, and go check those surveys out, please.
Thank you, everyone, for watching today. We're happy to have you with us. We hope you'll have a chance to view the Big Astronomy program in a planetarium somewhere again, or watch one of our weekly live streams. Thank you, Vivian, for sharing with us a little of your enthusiasm and your galaxy umbrella, your galaxy model on an umbrella. Pretty cool. And there's a link to where if you haven't gotten a toolkit and you just want the umbrella, or you can find that on the Astronomical Society of the Pacific's website. That's in our comments as well. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you again on February 15th. Don't miss another Real People Big Astronomy then.
Thanks, Renee.